What is up, everybody? It is your boy Nick Noodles coming at you with another great video. Today we are finally talking about botting again. I feel like I haven't made a video about botting in a while. I really wanted to make this video to, one, cover the current landscape of botting, two, go over sites that people are botting and rank it in terms of how consistent and easy it is to bot, as well as how much money you'd be looking to spend. And then lastly, I kind of want to talk about my future plans with botting because a lot has changed and botting may or may not make sense for me anymore. So we'll explain all of that in this video. It will be a little bit longer, so if you want to skip around and listen to sections and not, listen to me ramble in other sections, feel free to do that. It'll all be timestamped. But let's go ahead and talk about the current landscape of botting. So I could talk about this subject alone for like several minutes. This could be an entire video, but I want to condense everything into one video. So basically, for all of these reasons that I'll have on screen right now, we've just seen a massive influx of people botting, people going for stuff manually. And what this has done is just create a lot of competition on the platform. No longer are the days where it was like a botter going up against a bunch of manual users. Now it's a botter going up against a bunch of other botters. And the key thing here is that stock numbers aren't really changing that much. Companies are still limiting stuff. There are still a lot of releases to go for, but we have yet to see like a Dunk release or a Jordan 1 release where there's like a million pairs available where like everybody can hit. An example of this is for a Shopify release. There's only 100 pairs for some Shopify sites. So let's say Kith is only dropping 100 pairs. There may be 1,000 botters alone, plus, thousands of other manual users. So you're going to take an L. Not everybody's going to secure one of those 100 pairs. And same can be said for Footsites. There's maybe 15,000 pairs on a good Foot Locker release, but there's thousands of botters sending thousands of requests to that site every single minute. And it's just a lot of competition that I think a lot of people are overlooking. That's just my opinion, though. I think now more than ever, it's based a lot more on luck and how much money you're willing to put into this. You can't really do this on a budget, in my opinion. So yeah, that's the current landscape of botting. Let's go ahead and start talking about different sites and how they are to bot. Now, let's first start talking about Footsites. Footsites are pretty terrible right now for a few reasons. One of the biggest problems with botting Footsites right now is that bots are not very consistent, and the top performing bots that are somewhat consistent cost you thousands of dollars. So right here, I have the Rental Assist Discord server pulled up, and I really like this server because, one, it's free, and two, they also do drop recaps of Footsites and Yeezysupply every single release. And you'll notice here, let's go ahead and look at some of these Footsite recaps. So Footsite, for these 99 dunks, these were pretty limited. We can see that the S tier bots are Nike Shoe Bot, Easy Cop Bot, Valor, and Kylan. Let's go to the prior Footsite release, Yeezy 500s. Again, we have Kylan, Wrath, Valor. Let's go look at the dunks right here. We have Wrath, Ganesh, Kylan. So as you can see there's almost a different top performing bot every single week. Again, some are more consistent than others, but the really consistent bots are going to run you $4,000 to $5,000. And if you want to hit every single week, like guaranteed, you need to be running 2 or 3 of the top performing bots every week. That's what, all the big botters on YouTube are doing. And if you're new to botting, this can cost you upwards of $15,000 to $20,000 because that's how expensive they are. You can get a cheaper bot like Easy Cop Bot or Nike Shoe Bot, but their platforms are so saturated. You may hit a lot and you may not. And you don't really want to be inconsistent on when you're botting because there are proxy costs. There are a lot of overhead costs involved with this. So you need to be hitting consistently in order to be making, profit and make this worthwhile. The other thing that's very difficult about Footsites is finding working proxies. You'll find that a lot of proxies just don't work for you. And if you could be running the best bots, but if you have shit proxies, you're not going to get anything on drop day. Now, the hard thing about finding proxies is all of the top tier, proxies that are guaranteed to work on Footsites, they're private invite only groups. And the only way you can get into those are through giveaways or through group buys in a cook group. And even in the cook group, group buys, that could be 10 invites for 200 to 300 members, maybe even more. So getting a working Footsite setup is very, very expensive. And that's why I don't think it's really worth it right now. I've noticed people in cook groups aren't really running auto checkout services for Footsites right now because it's just so hard to hit consistently for people. So I'm going to give Footsites a D tier just because it's definitely possible to bot, but it's just kind of unobtainable right now for a lot of people. If you've been in the game for a while and you have all these really good bots for retail, then I would say it's worth it. But if you're just getting started, I would definitely steer away from Footsites for now. Manual, it's like negative Z tier, not even possible. Please stop going for Footsites manual. You're literally wasting your time. Now let's talk about Yeezysupply. Yeezysupply, I would say, is one of the best platforms to bot right now. It's kind of similar to Footsites in terms of setting up. However, the key differences are that the top performing Yeezysupply bots are way cheaper than the top performing Footsite bots. So I would say some of the top performing Yeezysupply bots are Mech AIO, Dashy, and Soul AIO. And those three bots range anywhere from $700 up to $3,000. That's thousands of dollars cheaper than what you would pay for a top tier Footsite bot. Proxies aren't as hard to get working on Yeezysupply. I feel like pretty much all proxies work. As long as you're running one-to-one proxy to ratio task, I don't think you'll have any issues with proxies. I personally use these and they've all worked. Some are invite only, some are public. Now for Yeezysupply, there are three main obstacles, and the first is having working credit cards. MasterCard seems to be clipped right now. The best cards to use on Yeezysupply are Privacy, which can be annoying because they do have spending limits based on how much activity you have on it. So in a drop, you could easily go over that limit and be stopped from checking out. There's also zip code bans you have to look out for. I'm pretty sure my zip code is banned on Yeezysupply because I was running Dashy the other week from a rental and I couldn't get past submitting shipping. So I'm pretty sure that means my address is banned, which I don't even understand how. And then lastly, you have to have good Gmails, not even just 0.9 Gmails anymore. You can have 0.9 and still not pass Splash. You need to have good capture proxies that aren't banned on Yeezysupply. I've heard that if you get one clicks on the regular V2 checkbox, then those Gmails should be good, but those are definitely a lot harder to get than a good 0.9 Gmail score. If you didn't understand all of that, check out my video on CAPTCHAs. But once you get past those three things, the setup is really easy. Like you literally just put in proxies, put in the SKU number and let it run for 30 minutes. Because of the lower bot cost, I think it's worth it to buy Yeezysupply. Again, it's only around $800 to $3,000 depending on which bot you want. And all those bots you can also rent. So honestly, I give Yeezysupply an A tier just because it's a lot cheaper than Footsites. The profit margins are really good on Yeezys this year. Foam runners are going crazy. Slides are going crazy. Even some of the 700s and 500s are doing really well. So I would say that it's definitely worth botting Yeezysupply. Manual Yeezysupply, I want to say is C tier. I've seen people do it. It's not impossible like Footsites, but it is definitely very hard to do on a consistent basis. I personally get banned with like one Chrome tab open, so I'm about to stop waking up for Yeezysupply because it's really annoying and it's just wasting my time every morning. The Confirmed app as well is pretty garbage. Yeezysupply, it's not that great for manual, but definitely for botting, one of the best sites you can go for right now. Next, we have Shopify, and Shopify is a pretty consistent experience. Not as a lot has changed with it over the past year. I would say the only major difference is that they age CAPTCHA a lot more, which is the annoying CAPTCHA where you have to answer a question and then solve a puzzle. Or even now they have the one where you have to like draw a box around an object. It just doesn't work. And botting Shopify is definitely really, really good. You have bots like BalcoBot that pretty much cook every single Shopify release, like Shoe Palace, DSM, Kith. But you also have bots like Soul AIO that do pretty well. And, you know, again, Soul AIO is like $800, Balco is like $3,000. And those, you know, I would say are pretty cheap for being the best Shopify bots. In terms of setup, you need really good Gmails. You don't even need proxies. But I will say it can take a little bit of experience getting used to changing the delays for a Shopify release. Some people can have their delays really, really low and have no problems. Some people have to turn theirs up. Otherwise, they will get throttled in the queue. But once you understand how a Shopify release works and you have a really good bot setup, I think you can hit it consistently. The only downfall I would think for Shopify is that stock numbers are pretty low. On a site like Shoe Palace for a general release, you might get, 1,000 or so pairs, and BalcoBot's pretty much going to take all of it. But for sites like Kith or Concepts, DTLR, you're going to be looking at 100 to 200 stock each release, maybe even less. And if there's thousands of people going for it, you're going to take an L even if you're running like the best Shopify bot out there. So definitely keep that in mind. For those reasons, I'll give Shopify a B tier. For those reasons, I give Shopify a B tier just because, again, it's a pretty consistent experience, but with those low stock numbers, you may or may not be consistently hitting. Now, in terms of manual, it depends. If a Shopify site does a domain change and they have like HCAPTCHA up, it's A tier for manual. No bots are going to check out at all. It pretty much all goes to manual. We've seen that with Ama Manier. We've seen that with Undefeated. We've seen that with Bodega releases. Every time they do that, bots flop. Now, regular Shopify releases where all they have is like checkpoint CAPTCHA or HCAP, I would say manuals like C or D tier, depending on if you have an autofill or not. It's definitely possible, but you really have to know how Shopify sites work, how the queue works, how checkpoint CAPTCHA works. And even then, it really just kind of comes down to speed and luck. And it's really, really hard to hit consistently, in my opinion. So yeah, that is Shopify. Next, we have Supreme. And Supreme is so easy to bot. Like, I'm pretty sure I could teach my mom how to bot Supreme. Literally, all you need is just one-click Gmails. And you don't even need the checkbox one-click. You just need invisible one-click, which is way easier to get. You don't even need proxies as long as your IP address isn't banned. The only problem with Supreme Botting is that stuff just doesn't resell as much anymore. Stock numbers are so high. There's too many sellers. And I don't really think it's worth botting it right now just because manual is possible every single release. The only L's I've taken this season are on the dunks and on the Frey Denim logo items, which like obviously that sucks to miss out on, but every other release that I wanted this season I was able to get, no problems, including the box logo from last week. Pretty much all the bots flopped on initial for that. So yeah, I would give Supreme Botting a C tier just because it's really, really easy, but it may or may not be worth it because of the resell nowadays. It's really hard to predict what's going to resell and what's not. And I have to make it that low just because manual is so easy. If you have a good autofill, I would say manual's A tier or even B tier. It's possible to manual every single release, it seems like. So yeah, that's my opinion on Supreme. Now, lastly, I want to talk about retail botting, and this is probably one of the most popular, if not most popular platform to bot right now for several reasons. It is so lucrative how profitable some of these retail sites are. GPUs, consoles, even trading cards, Funko Pops, all of that stuff, it's really, really profitable. Even more profitable than shoes, I would say, in streetwear right now. You can flip GPUs for pretty much double retail right now because of the shortage. And apparently the shortage isn't really going anywhere. It's supposed to lead up until next year. So there is definitely a lot of money to be made flipping these types of things. And because of that, we have a ton of retail. We have a ton of people trying to bot retail. Now, in my opinion, this is starting to get really, really oversaturated, kind of like Footsites. I've seen people cook with a bot like Stellar, which is like $500, but I've also seen a lot of people flop with it. I would say Stellar is like the Nike shoe bot of retail botting. It absolutely cooks for some people that know how to use it, but it really doesn't for others. Keep in mind, you will have to run 24/7 to consistently hit with retail. So keep that in mind. I've heard people running it on servers 24/7, which can add up, especially if you're not hitting. But some of the really top tier Amazon bots are going for upwards of $3,000 or $4,000 right now, just again, because of how lucrative this is. There's definitely a steep learning curve. I think you have to know all the SKU numbers. You have to have accounts, I believe, for each site. You have to have proxies that work. There's definitely a lot that goes into it that I don't really quite understand because I haven't really dove into it. I would probably give retail botting a B tier right now just because of how much money you can make from it. But it is pretty expensive and there is a lot of competition. So it kind of just comes down to luck, I think, sometimes, and who has faster internet connection. But yeah, I highly recommend joining a cook group that focuses on electronics and stuff because it can be very difficult to get that set up. Manual is like impossible. The only site I think you can hit manually is Best Buy for GPUs. I think for consoles, you can hit any site manually, but definitely for GPUs, I don't know how people hit manually outside of Best Buy. Like Amazon, it's impossible. Newegg is impossible. Walmart, I think they have graphics cards. That's impossible. So that's kind of all the sites. I hope you guys enjoyed that portion of the video. It was kind of long. I definitely did ramble, but now I want to talk about my future plans with botting. And a lot has changed in the past few months. I graduated from college. I started a full-time job. I'm starting to realize now that I just don't have the time to sit down at my computer every morning and, set up a bot, set up my Gmails, go for every release have my eyes peeled at a Discord monitor all day. It's definitely not healthy for me, and I definitely need to manage my time better, especially if I want to keep making YouTube videos like this. So I think I'm going to retire from botting just because I'm super washed as well. I don't hit anything. I hit more manually and through raffles than botting. And I think a lot of other people do. It doesn't make sense for me, but I could definitely see how it makes sense for other people. It is for sure addicting, setting up a bot and getting checkouts on it. But yeah, the channel isn't going anywhere. I definitely want to make content on, streetwear, Supreme, sneakers, but I probably won't make as much content on like botting, setting up a bot and stuff like that. I might cover news and stuff with bots. And now that I have a job, the stuff that I really want, I'd rather just save up and pay resale for, because that will literally be cheaper than all the overhead costs of botting and all the renewal fees and all that stuff. Supreme as well is just, so easy to hit manual in my opinion. Yeah, that kind of wraps up my future plans for botting and my outlook on everything. Let me know if you have any questions down below, and I'll see you on the next video.